Welcome, brave souls. You have entered a place where the dead don't rest, and the shadows hide unspeakable horrors. The black grave beckons, its curse waiting to claim another victim. What you are about to see will haunt your thoughts, linger in your dreams, and pull you into the darkness. Will you dare to face the truth, or will the grave consume you too?
It was an unusually cold night for summer. My friend Mark and I were driving down an old, forgotten road we'd stumbled upon earlier that day. We had heard rumors of an abandoned cemetery deep in the woods, the Black Grave they called it, but no one dared to go there. The deeper we drove, the denser the trees became, their twisted branches forming eerie shadows on the road. My hands gripped the wheel as the headlights struggled to pierce the darkness. I felt a chill run down my spine, but Mark was calm, even excited about our little adventure. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the hum of the engine. Mark laughed it off. "Come on, it's just an old cemetery. Nothing's gonna happen," he said. But the way he looked out the window made me think he wasn't as sure as he sounded. We finally arrived. The cemetery was hidden behind a rusted iron gate, half swallowed by overgrown vines. A thick fog had settled in, swirling around the tombstones like silent whispers. It felt like the air itself was warning us to turn back, but we pressed on. The gate creaked as we pushed it open, the sound echoing through the stillness. The cemetery stretched out before us, filled with ancient gravestones and mausoleums that had long since crumbled to ruin. My breath caught in my throat as I spotted one grave in the distance, darker than the others. The Black Grave. "We're here," Mark said with a grin, his flashlight sweeping over the ground. "Let's check it out." I followed him, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach with each step we took. The closer we got, the colder the air became, as if the very ground beneath us was sucking the warmth from our bodies. There was something wrong about this place, something I couldn't quite put into words. But Mark, he was already at the edge of the Black Grave, peering down into the earth. Mark knelt beside the grave, brushing away the dirt that had gathered over time. The tombstone was blackened and cracked, its inscription barely legible. "This is it," he whispered, running his fingers over the carved letters. A cold wind suddenly whipped through the cemetery, carrying with it a sound, faint, like someone calling out from beneath the ground. I froze. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my voice shaky. Mark shrugged. "Just the wind." But it wasn't the wind. The sound grew louder, more distinct. It was a voice, low and mournful, like someone was begging for help. I backed away from the grave, my heart pounding in my chest. "We should leave," I urged. Mark ignored me, fixated on the grave. Before I could stop him, Mark reached into his backpack and pulled out a small shovel. "You're not serious," I said, watching in disbelief as he started digging. The voice seemed to grow in intensity with every shovelful of dirt he moved. My legs felt weak, but I couldn't leave him there. After what felt like hours, the shovel hit something hard. Mark's hands trembled as he uncovered the lid of a decayed coffin. My skin crawled. "Mark, stop. We shouldn't be doing this," I warned. But his eyes were wide with curiosity, completely ignoring me. He pried open the coffin with a crowbar. The smell of decay hit me like a wave, and I gagged, stepping back. Inside was something more terrifying than I had imagined. A skeletal figure, wrapped in tattered cloth, its mouth frozen in a silent scream. The air around us grew heavier, colder. The voice that had been whispering was now a deafening wail, coming from the black coffin itself. Mark dropped the crowbar and stumbled backward, his face pale. "We need to leave," I shouted, but it was too late. The ground began to tremble. The earth beneath the grave shook violently, as though something was trying to claw its way out. I grabbed Mark by the arm and tried to pull him back, but he was frozen in place, staring at the open coffin. A thick mist began to rise from the coffin, swirling around us. I could feel it pressing against my skin, cold and wet, almost alive. "Run!" I shouted, but neither of us could move. The mist took form, an apparition, a figure of a woman, pale and translucent, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Yet I knew she was speaking to us, pleading with us to undo what we had done. "Mark, we need to leave now," I said. but he was transfixed, his eyes locked on the ghostly figure. "She's trapped," he whispered, his voice distant, almost as if he wasn't himself anymore. Suddenly the ghost lunged forward, her face twisted in anger. I felt a force like ice slam into me, knocking me to the ground. Mark screamed as the ghost hovered over him, her hands reaching for his throat. I scrambled to my feet and ran towards Mark, trying to pull him away, but it was like his body was glued to the ground. The ghost's grip tightened, and I could see Mark's face turning pale, his breath coming in short gasps. With all my strength, I pulled Mark free, and we stumbled back, gasping for air. The ghost stood there watching us, her hollow eyes filled with rage. "We need to leave now," I shouted, and this time Mark didn't argue. We ran. We sprinted through the cemetery, the mist chasing us like a living thing. I could feel its cold fingers brushing against my skin, trying to pull us back. "Faster!" I shouted, my lungs burning with every breath. The gate was in sight, but it felt like it was miles away. The fog grew thicker, swallowing the path ahead of us. I could hear the ghosts wailing behind us, growing louder with each step we took. Mark tripped, falling hard to the ground. I turned back to help him, but as I reached out, the mist wrapped around his legs, dragging him back toward the grave. "No!" I screamed, grabbing his hand. I pulled with everything I had, but the force was too strong. Mark's body slid across the ground inch by inch as the mist tightened its grip. His eyes were wide with terror, his voice lost in the chaos. "Austin, I wasn't strong enough." The mist was pulling him faster now, dragging him back to the black grave. I could see the ghost standing at the edge, waiting for him, her eyes locked on mine. With one final pull, the mist yanked Mark from my grasp, his scream echoing through the night. I watched in horror as he disappeared into the fog, the ghost's hollow eyes burning into my soul. I ran. I didn't stop until I was out of the cemetery, out of the woods, and back to the car. But I knew I would never see Mark again. It's been weeks since that night, but I can still hear Mark's screams in my dreams. Every night I wake up drenched in sweat, feeling the cold grip of the mist around my ankles. I've tried to forget what happened, tried to convince myself it wasn't real. But I know the truth. The black grave is real, and so is the ghost that haunts it. I've been seeing things, shadows in the corners of my eyes, flickering lights, and strange whispers that follow me wherever I go. I know she's coming for me. It's only a matter of time. Last night I woke up to the sound of someone crying outside my window. When I looked, I saw her, standing there in the fog, watching me with those hollow eyes. I know I can't escape her. Mark couldn't, and neither will I. The black grave took him, and now it's coming for me. I've tried to warn people, but no one believes me. They think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But I know what I saw. I know what's coming. As I write this, I can feel her presence closer than ever. The room is growing colder, and the whispers have returned. I know this will be my last night. The black grave claimed Mark, and now it's my turn. I can hear her outside calling my name. There's no escape from the curse of the black grave.
The story may have ended, but nightmares have a way of clinging to you, following you into the dark. Tonight, when the shadows lengthen and you feel that creeping dread, remember, some nightmares don't end when you wake up. If this story left you uneasy and you crave more terror, hit the like and subscribe button. The real nightmare is only just beginning.